Welcome to Traditional Painting the Digital Way. This is where I use digital painting apps to teach traditional painting techniques. In this video, we're going to be starting a brand new series, and what we're going to do is a Southwest style Ristra. And what this is it's a bunch of chilies that are strung together and then they're hung up. And they're used for decorations, and they just let them stay hanging up against a wall or something and let them dry out, and they can be used for even Christmas decorations, or they can be used for just decorations all year round. And they're pretty popular in the southwestern states in the United States, in New Mexico, Arizona, and Texas, and Southern California, and they're just kind of a real pretty decoration to have. So if you want to follow along traditionally, here's all the brushes that I use. And you can also add a number 3 round brush to this list if you like. And I usually use canvas board or a wrapped canvas. And here are the colors that I use. And I usually use Grumbacher Academy paint, but I sometimes use Liquitex or De La Rowney, just whatever you prefer. And then here I'm going to go ahead and load in some references that I got off of Pixabay.com, which has royalty-free photo references that you can use for your paintings. And what I want to do is kind of add a texture to the canvas, and you can look through all the textures that we have in Infinite Painter, and there's one that looks kind of like a stucco background, which is what I want to make this look like the Ristras are hanging in front of an Adobe wall. So I'm going to use the Leo brush because it shows texture really well. And what I want to do is start with a dark brown underpainting, and probably, if you're following along, traditionally use burnt sienna or burnt umber with some orange thrown in it, and maybe a little bit of white acrylic gesso. And we just kind of want to make a dark underpainting here. And you can use your number 10 bristle brush if you're following along traditionally, and just kind of put in rough strokes here. We don't care whether it's smooth or not. This is just the underpainting. And then what we want to do next, and you can look through your brushes and you can actually set texture to your brushes too, which is really nice. And so I wanted the stucco texture on this brush. And just go ahead and take a light brown color now and make short rough strokes over the top of this dark brown underpainting. And let some of it show through, because we want this to look like it's plastered, because that's how Adobe walls are made. They're plastered with a mud-like clay texture. And so just go ahead and sort of pat that on your underpainting there. And I've sort of reduced the opacity just a little bit, because I kind of want to make the brown show through and make it look like it has ridges and a really kind of a rough surface texture, because that's what Adobe looks like. And so I'm just leaving pockets there of where the brown shows up better. And then I wanted to throw in a little bit of some purple, and if you're following along traditionally, you can use dioxazine purple, and put that on there just to give it a more rough look on the Adobe wall. And then you just kind of cover it up a little, but let the purple show through, and that just, it makes it look like it's got texture marks and plaster marks on there. And then you can go back and add some more dark brown to it, and then add a little bit more of the light mixture again. And you can even throw in a little bit of red to this brown and add a lot of white, and you can get kind of a pinkish texture, because some Adobe mud colors are also a pink looking color. They're light orange or they're kind of light pink. And so then throw in a little bit more of the purple again. I just kind of want it to look like it's a rough texture here. And you can just keep on doing that until you're satisfied with the way it looks. And then I went ahead and just merged the layers together. And then what I want to do here is use one of the guides and draw in the overhang of the porch, because I want to put just kind of an indication of a porch and wooden beams. A lot of these Adobe buildings have wooden beams that support the porch, and they also have wooden pillars, and they're usually kind of rough looking, and so you want kind of a dark wood color. You can, again, if you're following along traditionally, use burnt umber or burnt sienna. You just kind of want a rough looking wood color, and here I'm kind of making the edges look not so smooth because I want this to look kind of hand carved. And then for the wooden beam that goes under the porch, I'm making sort of a little fancy decoration using the reference photos that I have. As you can see, they kind of have some fancy scroll work on the edges of the beams there. So I just kind of want something simple. I don't want anything really big or fancy, just kind of a simple thing to give the idea that the Ristra is hanging up on the porch. And so I'm just kind of working on that shape a little bit. And you can go ahead and start on the Ristra now, and they usually have a little bit of straw on the top of the Chiles just for decoration. And so I'm using a light yellow color, and if you're following along with your acrylic paint, just use yellow ochre and add a lot of white acrylic gesso to it, and just kind of make a rough disorganized shape, just kind of in the shape of some straw, and we'll add detail to that later. And then the same thing with the Chiles. We just kind of want the mass of the Chiles right now. We're not looking for big details. We just want kind of the shape of the overall mass of Chiles that are hanging down. And so I'm using an underpainting of a dark red color, and you can use burnt umber with cadmium yellow light, or cadmium red light rather, and just kind of give it a brick red color for the underpainting of the Ristra. And you can use your a round brush if you want to make the edges kind of look jagged, and that's just going to make it look like there's the Chiles that are poking out on the edges there. But we don't want great big detail. We just kind of want the overall mass here. And just go ahead and make little poking out shapes and just kind of get the idea, the overall idea of the mass of Chiles. So this is the end of part 1 of my New Mexico Ristra series. And in part 2, we're going to go ahead and add more detail to the Chiles and kind of give them a more highlighted look and just tighten up the painting a little bit. So thanks everybody for watching. Thank you so much for your support. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments down below, and I will catch you later.